Well, let's let Jennifer have some time here. Let's let her tell us how these two met. How many years ago was that?
That was about 30 years ago. We met 34 years ago. We've been married almost 30 years. In Columbus, Ohio. I was the music director for the Park Hotel's lounge, actually, and Rex came in as a Yankees AAA player, and they were supposed to be at the media banquet, but he was in the lounge with 3 or 4 other guys.
It was before the banquet.
Okay, it was before the banquet. Anyway, he had a suit on, so he totally tricked me, asked me to play a song, so I was really a glorified DJ, is what I really was. And I guess you'd say the rest was history. Later that night, he asked for my number, and I wouldn't give it to him.
Now, you told me
for about 10 minutes.
You were going to shoot straight. I'm leaving the building and I said goodnight to some of the ladies that were at the desk, and I went out and I heard a hey. She said, hey. I stopped and turned around, and no one's ever done that to me. I'm not a guy.
You weren't too bad looking.
No, but still.
Except for that red hair.
I can believe it. So I said, so she stops me. I go, so hey, will you give me your number? She goes, no. And I go, oh, here we go. Okay, well, I'll call you at this place.
I told you I wouldn't get a word in.
It was early in the season, Paul. And I wasn't looking for a girlfriend. It's early in the season. It's time to focus, man. I had no time until when I called her a few weeks later, though, at the place. But didn't come to find out, she watched me get in my car. She wanted to see what kind of car I drove.
That's not true. Now he's stretching the story. How did you know I was looking out the window?
You told me that.
What kind of car was he driving?
Some 280ZX something or other.
She liked it.
It was pretty. It was blue.
And did you know he was a ball player?
Not at that moment, no. I found out a couple weeks later when he took me to lunch, told me what he did, and I said, I'm not interested, because they're usually womanizers or drunkards.
We got a lot of ball players in the room here, Jennifer.
Womanizers or drunkards? Really? Okay, I told her, hey, I'm one of the two.
Oh, you did not.
I'm one of the two. Guess which one I am?
No, he didn't. He did not say that. Anyway, what he did say was, I'm not like that. He said, I'm a born-again Christian. And even though I didn't know I wanted to marry him at that point, but the minute he said that, honestly, I knew I wanted to get to know him better, because I was a Christian. I was saved when I was 11 years old in my United Methodist Church. It was a meeting that was going through town, like a camp meeting. We were huge Billy Graham fans. My grandmother and I listened to Billy Graham on the radio all the time, watched him on TV. So when Rex said that, I just knew that he was different, and I wanted to get to know him better. And that's the truth.
And I'm doing the math here, Rex, 34 years ago, so that was, you've been in the minors for 6 years already, right? First round pick. The clock's ticking. People expect you to be in the big leagues. You expect to be in the big leagues.
Coming home to Fresno in the off season, people were like, oh, so when are you going to make it? When are you going to turn pro? I've been pro since I left here, okay? You know, when you get paid, you're a professional, but I wasn't a very good one.
And you didn't get paid very much.
She didn't come along until I got in the big leagues. Now, what's wrong with you?
You got in the big leagues because you put me in your life. Oh. Now, let's tell the truth.
You know, I did look that up just to double check today, and his first big league call-up was 1984, right after he met Jennifer. Coincidence?
That's right.
Oh. You know what? I can tell you folks that this is true. I'm a successful failure. Okay, look, when you play baseball, Coach Bennett, Coach Noakes, when you play baseball, Ron Scott's here. How many times do you succeed compared to how many times you fail? Wolfie? God, no, you never failed. A lot, right? Okay, so how did you handle failure? You were able to get your head up and let it go and move on. Keep it up. Well, I got to tell you that when I married her, I was a 10-year minor leaguer, and I was like, you know what? You know why I wandered for so long? I had injuries in my career early, and you know, there's a few setbacks, but really what happened was I walked with God in my childhood, and I went to Bible studies 2 days a week, and I ingested the Word of God in my heart as a young person. And man, that came in handy, because I was able to draw from the strength when I needed it. When I signed with the Yankees, I put God on the shelf, and I put it in the back seat of my life. And I got in the driver's seat and I said, okay, all right, let's go. Dead end after dead end after dead end after dead end. And finally, you know, I know many of you folks were saying, wow, you know what, just another wasted pick, another guy that made some bad decisions and messed his life up and he's never going to make it. But I got on my hands and knees and I said, oh, God, you know what, I need to settle down, I need to change my life. I need for you to get back in the driver's seat and me to get back in the back seat. And he goes, great to hear from you again, man. Where you been? Hey, I never left. You're the one who left. I'm always here. I've been here. You left. And I said, God, I need a wife. Could you help me find a wife? And he goes, wow, you know what, hon? I'm going to take care of you. I created everything that's here. I can find a wife for you. He lifted Jennifer up. But you know, I was running. I was chasing. I was doing all those things that young people do. And if you're a baseball player, aren't I something? I got girlfriends in every state.
All right, you don't have to go on about that. Every state knows.
That got old. I got tired of that. My life, that was corroding my heart. I felt terrible. Oh, I can't. He goes, he lifts Jennifer up, and I went, whoa, hey, Lord, you got good taste, man. She's beautiful. And he goes, yeah, good luck. There she is. Good luck catching her.
So what did it take, Jennifer? How did you finally catch her?
Well, we went to lunch, and he asked me to go to a game, and I wouldn't go for a couple months, I don't think. He kept asking if I'd like to go to a game, and I said, no, I don't want to go. First game I went to was 17 innings, and it ended at 10 of 1 in the morning. Not a good way to start.
But you stayed all 17 innings?
I did.
Wow, it says something right there.
Yeah.
So you guys get married, and then it's happily ever after, right? Married to a ball player, he makes it to the big leagues, has this long career. What could possibly go wrong?
Well, I guess we all know it's never happily ever after. The princess, syndrome is you meet the shining whatever night and hope night.
Bullard
that
night.
works. That works.
Believe it.
Yeah. No, and you think you are going to live happily ever after, but we've been through a lot of struggles, and we still go through struggles today. But what keeps our marriage strong is we both have a strong foundation in Christ. We both have given our lives to Christ, and we do our best to follow Him. And, we want to be good examples for our own children. And we try to be good examples, whether we're having a great day or we're having a crappy day. We've hit a lot of mountaintops in the last few years. The World Series, it seemed like baseball went on forever and everything was great. But there's always problems, just like everybody has, whether it's a death or family member that has a problem. So what keeps us together is that foundation in Christ.
Paul, though, but for 7 years, when I got married to her, I want you to know I never went back to the minors again. So my wife is a huge part of my success. Even though I call myself a successful failure, 10 years in the majors is not easy, and that's a full pension. So I thank God for that. He kept me around long enough to where we could reap some rewards and a little bit of fruit, but it wasn't easy. But for 7 years before we had children, I wanted to take her everywhere with me, everywhere, so she could see what the life was like. I knew it wasn't going to last long, especially I knew what kind of player I was, and so it wasn't going to last. And so I wanted her to come every city, every place, and we did. We had a long time. I believe we bonded our marriage during that time. We didn't just start having kids right away because, being gone, it's hard to be a good father. So once we started having children, then I knew that things were going to change. And by then, I was in our mid-30s, and so we started to start our family, and then that changed everything.
And we want
Good and the bad.
Yeah, and we want to hear about all that. Something comes to mind for me, though, Rex, a baseball question, and maybe it ties into what you were just talking about family-wise, too, but 11 years in the minors as a first-round pick. Why didn't you give up? A lot of guys do. A lot of guys are gone. They're never heard from again. What was it kept you going?
Paul, one of the biggest temptations I had after 6 years in A-ball. Players don't play 6 years in the minors at all nowadays. 6 years in A-ball was a lot. That's a long time. I felt like quitting. But when Coach Jim Sweeney had me come go to lunch with him after my sixth year in A-ball. He said, "Hey kid, I don't know if baseball's going to work out for you. You can catch passes from Kevin, my son, here in your hometown, and you'll be a star. I'll scholarship you at 23 years old. Come and be a Bulldog." Oh, Coach, that's such a great offer. Really? Oh man, Coach, thanks, but I turned down the greatest football team in the world, the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame. I'm going to make it in baseball. Thank you, though. That's an incredible offer for you, Coach, that you would do that. I'm going to make it in baseball. So every time somebody said no, I said I'm going to. And I threw another log in that fire. And I want to thank the people out there that never believed I could do it, because that kept me going. And I kept that fire burning inside, but God knew. He knew my heart. He knew I wanted 10 years in the majors. And I didn't tell anybody that after 10 years in the minors. But I told my wife that. I'm going to get 10 years in the majors. You watch. If God helps me, we're going to go for it, because I got to have something for my career, for my kids. They're not even here, and we got to have. They're counting on me.
Yeah, to play 10 years is a significant accomplishment in the majors, but to play 10 years with the reckless abandon that he had. I mean, you saw some of those highlights. He didn't care about his body at all. He's throwing it all over the field. Didn't even care what he put in his mouth. We're going to talk about that in a minute, too. But Jennifer, you mentioned starting your family. And you have 4 children now. You want to tell us about your kids before we dive deeper there?
Sure. We have a daughter that's 23. She lives in Alabama. She works for the Montgomery Biscuits, which is a minor league team for the Tampa Bay Rays, wearing about 5 different hats, learning how to, market and sell baseball. And
how does she feel about ball players?
She stays away from them.
She wants to be a general manager.
Yeah, that's what she's thinking. So we'll see. Then we have a son that's 21. His name is Cade. He is in his last year of an access program where he works on job skills and life skills. And then we have William, who is 16, and he's a sophomore. He's a lot like his daddy, but he gets really good grades. And he does want to be a ball player, so we're looking at colleges right now and hopeful if that dream can come true for him.
You promised you wouldn't throw me under the bus.
I haven't thrown you under the bus yet. And then we have David. David is 15, and he plays lots of sports and has a lot of fun, but his passion is photography and filmmaking, and so we're just beginning to learn a little bit about that and how we can support that.
Sounds like a fun mix. A lot to look forward to in the Hudler family. And Rex, I want to take you back a few years. So you have Alyssa, and then Cade comes along. And I know that this was a life-changing moment for you. What do you want to tell all the folks here about what that did in your life and how that's even directed a lot of your time and energy in all the years since he came along?
So excited. We knew we were going to have our first son. It's all worked up. And you know what? The year was 1996. It just happened. I was with the California Angels, and it just happened to be a year that everything fell. Everything off my bat fell. I'd come home from the ballpark and go, "Well, how'd you do?" I go, "I got 3 hits, and I didn't hit the ball hard one time." Everything worked, and she was carrying Cade, and I'm thinking, "Wow, this is really something." And she didn't have a test. We didn't have an amnio. But your blood work tested high for Down syndrome. And so we go, really? Well, that's interesting. Well, you know what? If God wants us to have a child with a disability, he will. But we just kept going on, and then the season was awesome. Everything went, I hit over 300. I actually hit some homers over the fence. I couldn't believe it. It was unbelievable.
16, I think, that year.
Can you believe that? Woo! Yeah, they were wanting me to pee in a bottle. But anyway, no.
I wasn't going to go there, but yeah.
No, it's just one of those things where, I had a great one season. It never happens. The best season in 21 years, the only good season I ever had. Yeah. So God blessed us, not knowing what was coming.
Yeah. When Cade was born, they pronounced him healthy. Well, Cade has Down syndrome. We like to call it UP syndrome because he's just a blessing and a huge positive thing. But when he was born, they pronounced him a healthy baby boy. And so we really believed he was just another typical boy.
Healthy and typical. Yeah.
It was healthy.
You know what, though? One thing, when they took Cade from Jennifer and they put him on the hot pad or the hot tray, whatever they put him on, that thing that kind of heats him up, he didn't cry. My other child cried. I was like, wow, you know what, Cade, man, he's that's my boy. And I asked the nurse that took him, I said, is he okay? Look at him. He looks great. She didn't say anything. And I was like, oh, surely she'd say, oh, yeah, he looks great. She didn't say anything. So I saw his nice round power booty. I was all excited, and I'm saying, he had a little bit of peachy red hair. And I'm thinking, yes, my son, man. I'm hoping he's a better player than I was.
And they score the kids, and his app bars were good too. So he really tricked everybody for a couple of days.
Like he had a disability. So they pronounced him typical and healthy, and we take him home, but there was a little bit of...
He was having a hard time nursing, and so they tested him. But the neonatal nurse, because the nurses were there with him at Forest Moore, and they suspected, they didn't tell us, they tested him, and sure enough, he had Down syndrome. And I thought at the time, it was the most devastating thing that I could ever experience. Because all I could think of was, how do we fix this? If he had a heart defect, well, we could have an operation or there was something. But you know what? We prayed for a healthy baby boy, and we got a healthy baby boy. He just happened to have an extra chromosome.
3 days after we brought him home, the doctor calls and said, hey, Mr. Hudler, your son has tested positive for Down syndrome. You have a little boy with Down syndrome. And I went, oh, okay. Do you have an owner's manual? What am I supposed to do next? So I told the family, everybody was there. They all were upset. They all were crying. Everybody, I'm thinking, what is wrong? We prayed for a healthy child. That's what we got. So as the family grieved and time went on, like for a week or so, Jennifer's trying to get in the nurse and feed. I was not grieving, and I couldn't understand why people were. So I have a friend that was a teammate of mine. His name was Tim Burke. He was a teammate with the Expos. Him and his wife, they adopted kids, and one of their children that they adopted became mentally disabled through a heart procedure. So they had a child with a disability, and I had to call someone that I knew to tell him the news. And I called Tim Burke on the phone and said, Berkey, this is Hud. Jennifer and I just had a little boy with Down syndrome. What do you have? Do you have anything you can offer me? Any advice? And he said, yeah, Hud, you need to grieve with your wife. What? What do you mean grieve? I'm not upset. He goes, 85 to 90% of marriages dissolve when you have a child with a disability. You want to fight for your marriage. You need to grieve. Did you have dreams of your boy being a football player, a baseball player like you were? Yeah. You need to grieve those dreams. Don't grieve the fact that God blessed you with a child that has a disability. You need to grieve with your wife. And for me, I have to fight for my marriage. That's important to me. God is all about families and marriage. And I'm going to fight for my marriage. So, okay. I hung up the phone and I cried for 3 or 4 days. Uncontrollable sobbing. And nothing would console my heart. Nothing. My mother that was there, my mom, my family, my grandpa, my grandma. Nothing would console my heart except at 3 o'clock in the morning when I would wake up with this anxiety of like, I got a child the rest of my life I got to take care of. Oh, that's an incredible pain for a parent. And I would turn on I would see the soothing Yosemite National Falls. I would see the scripture on the TV, the soothing, and God was saying, I am your strength. After a week of being gone, 10 days of being gone, they said, tell us the news. You had a baby boy. Tell us about it. And I walked in to my peers. I had to tell my peers I had a little boy with Down syndrome. That was so hard. I can't tell you. I had to tell my peers that I had a little boy that was disabled. It was painful. You know what they did? They wrapped me. They hugged me. They loved on me. I said, Hud, it's okay. So we started getting the workouts going. And who's walking next to me? Who does God bring in my life? Jim Abbott. He's a big leaguer that pitched for almost 10 years in the majors with no hand on one side, and he had left hand. So we're walking on the treadmill, and Jim Abbott says, "Hey, you and Jennifer are good parents. You're good people. Miracles can happen. You stay with that child. You help him reach his full potential. Miracles can happen." And it impressed me so much that he didn't say, "Look what I did with my disability." It wasn't about that. Jim Abbott's a humble man. He was blessed to do what he did with one hand. And so I kind of woke me up. So I'm driving home, back to Jennifer, who hadn't left the house, hadn't left the upstairs room for a week, grieving and sobbing. And on my drive home for 15 minutes, the Holy Spirit, when we accept God in our heart, He comes in and dwells with us. He taught to talk with me, and He goes, "Hud, God gave you the child to enhance your life, not to bring your life down. How do you accept a gift? You stick your hands out. You take him. Take this child. You don't know it now, but you don't have any idea, but there's a reason I blessed you, because you're not that good a baseball player to have that season you had last year. You're going to keep playing." And so he really blessed us. And I went home to Jennifer and said, "Honey, look, Cade is our guy. Let's help him, honey. He's going to be outstanding. Think about it. We'll take him and we'll share him with the world. We'll share him with anybody." And God told me He's going to give me a job after my baseball career. I had no idea it was going to be broadcasting, but I'm going to give you a position where you're going to be able to encourage other parents that it's okay to have a child with a disability. I need you, Hud. I need you to work. I need you to work for me, for the special needs community. That's why I gave you the son." And I went, okay, it's a little bit too much for me right now, but yeah, sure. Sure enough. All right, go ahead, honey. I'll let you.
He's just getting revved up. And you may see on the screen at different times the website for their organization, teamupfordownsyndrome.org. You guys can pull it up later. But I'm sure that wasn't an instantaneous thing, Jennifer, to go from the grieving process Rex described to launching into, we're going to turn this into a ministry and encourage all these other people. Something that's still going on today every year at the ballpark, a huge turnout. Tell us what that journey was like for you.
Well, it was really tough, but when Rex came home that day, he knelt down by the bed and he opened the Bible and he read some scripture to me. And he told me what he felt when he came home was that God had given Cade to us to enhance our lives. And what do you do when you're given a gift? You hold out your hands and say thank you. And at that moment, we breathed together and we started healing. The healing process started.
So now, Team Up for Down Syndrome, the event you do at the Royals ballpark every year at Kauffman Stadium. Give us a quick snapshot of that and how fulfilling that is to see the response and the involvement.
Well, Special Day at the K is our last kind of event that we've done. We've done galas and all-star parties at Angel Stadium for 11 years. We've done wine tastings and many things. But I think this is one of the most fulfilling events that we've done because the Royals really are a great partner. They told us they'd give us 250 tickets to the ball game to pass out to anybody we wanted to. So we started with that, and we thought we would honor an organization that works really hard in the community for the disabled community or the able community. But Cade is really active in Team Up for Down Syndrome. He loves being a part of all the events. And so we end up honoring someone, honoring their organization. The money that we raise goes to that organization. It's called the Buck O'Neill seat, so they're honored, they're on television, and it's a really cool thing to do. Our mission statement is that we support housing and health research, job training, family counseling, education, and other worthwhile causes. So some of those other worthwhile causes are usually athletically connected, whether we're helping to build an all-purpose baseball field or support Little League challengers by giving them uniforms. But it's been a real blessing, and we'll continue the work as long as we can. So you go to Kansas City, and now you're back in baseball. And for you, Jennifer, that means your husband is gone a lot. Major League Baseball season is 162 games, plus spring training,
plus the playoffs and the World Series like the Royals won a couple years ago, you look at that and you're talking about 200 days where you get what, 5 or 6 days off that stretch, Rex? If that, and those are travel days?
Yeah, Paul, let me finish where my mind went blank.
I'm sure that never happens at home, Jennifer.
No, never.
Or on a live broadcast. When I questioned God about him bringing me to Kansas City, he said, get up out of bed, get to the ballpark, and you be the guy I called you to be here. These people are saying words at you that are, words are no problem. You've heard words before. You go stand up and be the guy I called you to be here. You're here for a reason. I sent my son here, and he did nothing wrong, and they killed him. They're not going to hurt you. Go to the ballpark. And I went, I'm so sorry, you're right. I went to the ballpark and passed out my measly little baseball card that's not worth a nickel. And whenever I sign something, Wolfie, I don't know about you, but when I don't know for sure about you, it brings it down in value. So I'm in front of Kauffman Stadium passing out my cards left and right like I'm some politician. Hope you guys enjoy the game. Enjoy the game.
There are a lot of campfires up here.
No, yours didn't, Wolfie. You are a fine ball player, and I acknowledge you and Rance and many others in here too, by the way. All right, that's what I wanted to say.
All right, let's get this from Jennifer. So he's out there, and he's fighting that battle, and we know how that story ends. The Royals win the World Series, and I mean, the guy's the greatest thing in Kansas City. Everybody loves the redhead guy. That's
winning cures all, that's why. It wasn't me, it was the winning. You know, winning cures, Coach, they say winning cures all. They don't say winning cures some. It cures all, including the redheaded balding broadcaster.
But what about his wife, who's home for 6 months while her husband is out doing a ball game every night? How have you guys figured that one out?
By the way, staying at the Ritz-Carlton, 4 seasons.
Eating steak and lobster.
Room service?
Him.
Every year, 2 weeks to go in the season, I get a call. Honeymoon, your fantasy world's about over, Hud. Get ready to come home, but we got chores, we have dinner, we have homework, we have mom and dad here. Fantasy world's about over, get ready.
In all seriousness, how do you manage it? How have you figured out a way to get through that and stay together as husband and wife and keep improving your relationship as opposed to fracturing apart?
Well, we really have some really good friends, and honestly, if I wasn't up for it, I wouldn't have married him. And I consider myself a strong woman, but I'm not that strong. I'm strong because I'm strong in Christ. And I have lots of great friends. I don't have any family that lives near us except for the ones that live in our house. Everybody lives in Ohio or here in California. So I depend upon great girlfriends whose a lot of their husbands travel a lot also, but they travel all year long. They may be home on a weekend or something. So I am supported by a lot of great women, and I attend a Bible study. You know, the children and I, we go to church when we can, when they're not on the baseball field on Sunday. So I try to surround myself with positive people and people that love Christ, that think in similar ways that we do. And he calls home every day, sometimes 5 times a day. It's like, I'm doing something. What are you doing?
But at first, you know, I had to call her at nighttime when I got home from the ballpark because she wanted to know where I was.
I did. I want to make sure. Now I have Find My Friends. That's an app on my phone. You don't know.
No, but you know what though? I told her when I married her that I'd be good to her and that I'd done my running and I was done running, and that was the truth. In order for me to sustain a great marriage, I have to be committed and dedicated to my partner. And if I'm not, it'll be found out. It's that easy. So is it worth it for me? No, it's not worth it. What I have invested in her and my family is for an eternity. So I'm really thankful for her. I'm thankful for what she does. And there's not another woman out there that could possibly tempt me away. Although, you know what? We're tempted, but we're not tempted beyond our control. And I trust God and the people that surround me on the baseball field and off the field. And that's important. So It's worked because I've worked at it, and we're dedicated to each other.